Hello friends, welcome to Local Matters, which is back in a new way, to feature the resources and resilience of our South Shore towns. While we are all on a mission to save lives by keeping a safe physical distance from each other, our emotional human connection is more important than ever. We'll use this space over the next several weeks to share some of the good works and the good news happening all around us, because there's so much of it. I'm Julie Thompson, and let's get started. Hand sanitizer is one of the most important tools that can help keep us healthy, but it is in short supply right now. Dirty Water Distillery in downtown Plymouth has adapted their everyday operations and stepped up to fill this urgent need. Head distiller Brenton McKechnie took time from his busy schedule to tell us more.
My name is Brenton McKechnie, and I am the head distiller at Dirty Water Distillery in Plymouth. We started to produce hand sanitizer following the World Health Organization instructions when we noticed the shortage of cleaning supplies on store shelves. We recognized that this shortage would not just affect the general public, but also those working on the front lines, police, fire, medical, etc. So we have been taking requests for bulk supply from frontline organizations and offering 2-ounce portions for individuals. We made the decision to offer this service for free, but will accept donations toward the production of more sanitizer from those who feel so moved, either through our website or in-store. For any requests or further information, we can be reached through our social media accounts, website, or a phone call, and we will do our best to respond as quickly as possible. Cheers.
A wonderful and important service to our community. Dirty Water provides 2-ounce fills for free per individual per walk-in, but be sure to bring your own container to collect your 2 ounces and to wear a mask. While the sanitizer is free, Dirty Water happily accepts donations to help defer their costs. And if you're an organization who needs a larger amount, contact them by emailing info@dirtywaterdistillery.com. Normally, I'd be welcoming our own Erica Christensen onto set with me to give an update on the schools, but practicing social distancing means that we're both on set, just not at the same time. I'm throwing it to you, Erica.
Thank you, Julie. Although education is continuing remotely, school teachers and staff are really missing their students. Silver Lake faculty created this video as a way to stay connected. Warning, it might make you cry.
Have you ever felt like nobody was there? Have you ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere? Have you ever felt like you could disappear? Like you could fall and no one would hear? Well, let that lonely feeling wash away. Maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay. 'Cause when you don't feel strong enough to stand, if you can reach out your hand. And oh, someone will come running, and I know they'll take you home. Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need a friend to carry you, and when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let the sun come streaming in, 'cause you'll reach up and you'll rise again. Lift your head and look around. You will be found. You will be found. You will be found. You will be found. You will be found.
Have you seen this? Someone put a video of your speech online.
My speech?
People started sharing it, I guess, and now, Connor is
Your
everywhere.
speech is everywhere. This morning, the Connor Project page, it only had 56 people following.
Well, how many does it have now?
4,582.
16,239.
I don't understand. What happened?
You did. There's a place where we don't have to feel unknown.
Oh my God, everybody needs to see this.
Every time that you call out, you're a little less alone.
I can't stop watching this video. 17 years
If
old.
you only say the word.
Take 5 minutes.
This will make your day.
From across the silence, your voice is heard.
Share it with the people you love. Repost.
The world needs to hear this.
A beautiful tribute.
Favorite. I know someone who really needed to hear this today. So thank you, Evan Hansen, for doing what you're doing.
I never met you, Connor, but coming on here, reading everyone's posts, it's so easy to feel alone, but Evan is exactly right. We're not alone.
We're not alone.
None of us. None of us. None of us are alone.
Well, especially now, with everything you hear in the news.
Like, share.
Repost.
Thank you, Evan Hansen, for giving us a space to remember Connor.
To be together.
To find each other.
Sending prayers from Michigan,
Vermont.
Tampa.
Sacramento.
Thank you, Evan Hansen.
Repost. Thank you, Evan Hansen. Video.
Thank you. This is awesome. Thank you, Evan Hansen.
Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need a friend to carry you, when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let the sun come streaming in, 'cause you'll reach up when you rise again. If you only look around, you will be found. You will be found. You will be found. Out of the shadows, the morning is breaking, and all is new. All is new. It's filling up the empty, and suddenly I see that all is new. All is new. You are not alone. 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 Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need someone to carry you, when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let the sun come streaming in, 'cause you'll reach up and you'll rise again. If you only look around, you will be found. 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 Together, 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 everyone. Together, together, come on, let's have some fun. Together, we're there for each other every time. Together, together, come on, let's do this right. Here and now, it's time for celebration. I finally figured out, yeah, that our dreams have no limitations. That's what it's all about.
Come on now. Everyone is special in their own way. We make each other strong.
Each other strong.
We're not the same. We're different in a good way. Together's where we belong.
We're all in this together. Once we know that we are, we're all stars, and we see that we're all in this together. And it shows when we stand hand in hand, make our dreams come true.
Everybody now.
Together, 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 everyone.
close my eyes and I can see a world that's waiting up for me, that I call my own. Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's been before, but it feels like home. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say I've lost my mind. I don't care, so call me crazy. We can live in a world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make. There's a house we can build. Every room inside is filled with things from far away. Special things I compile, each one there to make you smile on a rainy day. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say we've lost our minds. I don't care if they call us crazy. Run away to a world that we design.
Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make.
However big, however small, let me be part of it all. Share your dreams with me. You may be right, you may be wrong, but say that you'll bring me along to the world you see, to the world I close my eyes to see. I close my eyes to see.
Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head.
A million dreams are keeping me
A million dreams, a million dreams. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make.
for the world we're gonna make.
If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see, I'll be the light to guide you. Find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be 'cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Ooh, ooh, yeah. If you're tossing and you're turning and you just can't fall asleep, I'll sing a song beside you. And if you ever forget how much you really mean to me, every day I will remind you. Oh, find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Ooh, ooh, yeah, yeah. You'll always have my shoulder when you cry. I'll never let go, never say goodbye. You know you can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Ooh, ooh, you can count on me 'cause I can count on you.
These days my waves get lost in the ocean. 7 billion swimmers, man, I'm going through the motions. Sent up a flare, need love and devotion. Traded for some faces that I'll never know, notion. Maybe I should try to find the old me. Take me to the places and the people that know me. Trying to just connect, thinking maybe you could show me. If there's so many people here, then why am I so lonely? Can I get a connection? 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 Real friends, good friends, hard to find, let's face it. Buy the perfect home when there's a flood in the basement. Made a couple dollars now and I ain't trying to chase it. Kids from Oklahoma, man, we don't waste it. I'm just trying to paint the picture for me, something I could give a damn about in maybe 40 years. And I've been ready and willing and able to edit the story, 'cause there's so many people here to be so damn lonely. Can I get a connection? 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 I can see it in my reflection. Oh, can I get a connection? Can I get a connection? Right now, I'm switching to a new lane. Foot to the floor, man, searching for the real thing. Need somebody else, sometimes ain't no shame. Head to the clouds, saying it's like, can I get a connection? 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 I can see it in my reflection. Oh, can I get a connection? Can I get a connection? Trying to find the old me. Yeah.
What a fun and creative way to say we're thinking about you. You can visit their YouTube channel at Laker TV to watch this video again. Health officials are now advising us to wear face masks in public areas like grocery stores, where social distancing can be difficult. Our healthcare heroes need all the medical masks we can get to them, leaving the rest of us with an opportunity to be resourceful. I put together this video with some ideas and how-tos. Hi everyone, I'm going to be teaching you how to make 3 easy masks at home. Before we begin, you are going to need the following supplies: a pair of scissors, a measuring tape, some string. This will be for the ear loop, so pick something comfortable. A patterned cotton fabric. I have 1 yard of this bumblebee print. A filter fabric, which I have 2 yards of this unbleached muslin fabric. A small sewing kit, which we will use later on for mask 2 and 3. 2 hair ties, and a sewing machine, which will be used for mask 3. Now let's cut our fabric. We're going to need 1 piece of our cotton print cut to an 18 by 11 inch rectangle. With the print side down, take the long edges and fold it in until they meet in the center, making sure to hold down the creases. You can do this by flattening it out straight with your hands, or you can do it like I did by using the edge of my nail to cut the creases. You'll also notice I used a piece of fabric that had writing in it. I did this as an effort not to waste the fabric. Once you've made your first folds, flip it gently so they are now underneath with a smooth surface facing up. You're going to repeat the same process of folding the long edges to meet in the middle. Again, gently flip so your original folds are facing the top. Take your hair ties, slide them down on each end so they meet with more than 1/3 of the fabric left in the center. You will eventually be adjusting this to fit your face, so don't feel as though you need to make it perfect. Then fold over both edges and place one inside of the other. Again, you will be adjusting to your face, so this does not need to be perfect. Flip it over and you will see the front of the mask. You may need to gently pull the edges to open up the center. And there you have it, an easy no-sew mask. You can also use a scarf or an old t-shirt as the fabric. Make it your own. If you're feeling adventurous, there is also a hand stitch and sewing machine version that are coming up next. For the hand-sewn version, you're going to take that 18 by 11 inch piece of fabric and follow those exact same steps as you did in the no-sew version. Once you've finished and completed your mask, you are going to take that extra muslin fabric and cut the exact same size as the folded mask that you have now. The objective for this mask is to add an extra layer of fabric to act as another filter. Once you have that piece of fabric cut, you're going to fold along the long edges again and pin them down. You're going to repeat the same process on the opposite edges on the short end. You're going to take your needle and thread and start stitching down each corner and in between each edge, so that way there's no fabric that will pop up. Once you're done, you're going to lay it along the mask so that way the smooth side is facing up. You're going to stitch this onto the mask to prevent it from sliding anywhere and keeping down those folded edges from the no-sew version down. If you decide that you had made your mask too small, this can be another way to make it larger without having to start over and wasting fabric. Once you have it completed, put it on your face and see how it fits. There are many ways that you can make this mask. I'm only showing you a guideline, so please take any creative integrity you wish. The sewing version is coming up next. You will need a machine for this. You will be using the same materials as before, but different dimensions and a different approach. This time you're going to be using a 10-inch by 6-inch piece of fabric, both on the print and on the muslin fabric. What I have done here is taking the fabric along the long edge and folding it in about 1/4 inch of the way, pinning it down so that way when I go to the sewing machine, it's not going to unfold on me. Once you've done that for both sides, you're now going to take the shorter edges and fold them in about 1 inch of the way. Again, this is going to be a little bit different based off the size of your face, so take this lightly. Once you fold them over, pin them down again the same way as you did before, so that way the heads are facing out for you to easily pull while you sew. What I ended up doing here is taking the corners and cutting them at an angle so that way when you're sewing them down, there's not going to be any pieces that are going to be peeking out from your mask. You're now going to take that string and thread it through the short edge. I ended up using a piece of wood and taping it down so that way I can easily pull the string through the loop. Once you get both sides done, you're going to tie each end, but before you pull it through to the inside of the fabric, make sure it fits your face. You're going to have to adjust this a couple times to make sure it fits. Once it fits, pull it through so that way the knot is now on the inside of the fabric. You can see here, once I fitted it to my face, I did a small little pleat at the bottom of the mask and pinning it down so that way it fits my chin. You're going to take that to the sewing machine, do a simple little stitch, and that way it'll stay fit to your face. Once you get this down to size, you'll be able to pull the string taut so that way you can get it around your ears. Once you find out the right size and fit of your face, you can do this with multiple different kinds of fabrics. You can use t-shirts, you can use scarves, any sort of additional fabric that you might have laying around. Hopefully these tutorials are helpful for you in making your own mask at home. Please do the right thing and follow CDC guidelines when going out into public and going into populated areas. Making sure that you're wearing your mask, whether it be homemade or one that you obtained earlier, and wearing gloves in any sort of situation where you deem necessary. Stay safe, stay healthy, and be well, my friends.
When staying home isn't possible, it's good to know you're protecting yourself and others. Back to you, Julie.
Thank you, Erica. You gave us two great examples of how creativity and outside-the-box thinking can help make these times a little bit easier. In normal times, MIY is a make-it-yourself creativity studio that offers classes for people who want to make cool things and learn new skills. These days, the studio has shifted gears to making masks and gowns for medical professionals. MIY owner Jill Pimentel shared a bit about her process of supplying the bare necessities to our heroes on the front lines of this pandemic.
Hi there, my name is Jill Pimentel. I own MIY Studio in downtown Plymouth. Normally we teach things like acrylic pours and knitting and sewing and crochet and all sorts of great classes. You can see some dream catchers behind me. Of course, all of that is unfortunately non-essential at this time, so we are doing none of that. We are closed. However, given my sewing experience, that's what I do. I teach sewing. I've pretty much converted the place into a mask making production line where I spend all of my time here. I apologize if I look exhausted. I am. I very much am. So I just wanted to show you my little setup here. I've got 3 machines set up over here. One that you can see I've been making some regular masks on. Another one I am sewing some N99 masks that I've designed. I created a free pattern so that anybody can make those. My studio is not the most organized right now. It's certainly not the most messy it's ever been, but over here I'm just kind of scavenging through fabric to find things for masks and isolation gowns. Over here is where I'm making the isolation gown. So I'm lucky enough that I can convert this studio into what it is. I spend roughly 10, maybe more hours a day here. I wanted to show you this mask that I designed. This is sort of a respirator style mask that I created using surgical sheets. So these surgical sheets, these ones are actually new. They were given to me by a secret squirrel. They are an N99 material that hospitals use to wrap surgical instruments in before they sterilize them. It's readily available. You can get it used and it's still sterile. And so what I'm doing is I'm cutting it into a mask pattern, sewing in some floral wire, and that is providing the much needed PPE that is lacking for healthcare workers and those on the front lines. I've had people in corrections and LEO reach out, and I've given them these masks. I'm sewing and sewing and sewing. It's really hard to keep up. And that's why I've made my pattern available. It's online, it's on my website. Anybody who has a serger is ideal. Anyone who has a serger and who can get their hands on this material can jump in. We need all the help we can get. There is no shortage of requests here. Production has slowed tremendously. My shoulder is not so good after all of this work, but at one point I was getting somewhere between 200 and 300 masks in a day, in addition to some other things. I'm working on isolation gowns now. It's a lot, but I feel like where I'm not working and the studio is open and available and I have the skills, why would I be doing anything different? So if you are hoping to jump in and help in some way, you can pre-cut things for people, you can find fabric for people who are sewing. If you know how to sew, you can jump in. We need you. It's unfortunate that this is the reality, but here we are. Thank you.
To get your free surgical mask pattern, visit MIYstudio.com. First Foundations Farm in Middleborough may be necessarily closed right now, but they're still trying to help the community. They've been dressing up their farm animals and visiting local nursing home residents. Owner Stephanie Spears has adapted a trip they usually make twice a year with the animals inside the facilities to our new reality, bringing ponies dressed as unicorns and Maisie the mini pig right up to the windows of local senior homes. The seniors love it, and so do the trainers from the farm. Another wonderful example of community coming together. Thousands of our school kids have now become homeschool kids for the time being, and the Kingston Public Library is here to help. They are now offering True Flicks, an online literacy resource, which has hundreds of nonfiction resources to supplement social studies and science core learning. All you need is your library card and your smart device. Don't have a library card? You can sign up for a temporary one online. Visit the Kingston Public Library's website for more details. This is a hard time for everybody, but particularly hard for the homeless population. To prevent the spread of illness, pantries and shelters are closing, and there are limited resources available. The Plymouth Task Force for the Homeless continues to assist the less fortunate with food, shelter, and transportation services, but they need your help. To find out how you can be of service, please visit the Task Force website or their Facebook page. We're very thankful to have on set today licensed mental health counselor Leslie Cutler. Welcome, Leslie.
Thank you, Julie. It's wonderful to be here today.
It's wonderful to have you, and this is a very unusual time for all of us. We've never been here before. None of us have been. So I have some questions that I'd love to field through you, because you have a good way of looking at things on the bright side. This is a very difficult time, and it's overwhelming to many people, and a lot of people need coping mechanisms to help them get through it. So talk to me about that.
Yes, so I've put together some coping mechanisms that I've thought of myself, that I've been giving to my clients, as well as connecting in with some of my colleagues that are also doing the same type of work out there, and put them all together for us just to throw out some ideas. One of the things that I think is really important, I'm sure you've heard this one because it's been all over the news, is the importance of sticking to a daily routine.
Yeah.
A regular sleep schedule. Perhaps not staying up all night and sleeping half the day, but making a point to maybe go to bed by 11 and wake up by, say, 8. In addition to that, really making sure that every day you're getting dressed and not switching from pajamas to pajamas, but taking a shower, putting on clean clothes, and showing up for the day. And this is so important.
So is it both sticking to the routine and getting dressed? That's not only important for adults, but also for all these kids that are now being homeschooled?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, even for my little one, I make her do the pledge every morning with her principal online, and she's, all dressed and ready to go for school. Granted, there are some knots in the back of her hair that can't be seen via FaceTime, but, we do make sure that she's clean and that she's, up and going. And I think this is very important for our mindset in starting the day.
Right.
Yeah.
And what about eating and exercise and all that stuff for coping?
Yeah, and I think this has been such a challenge for all of us. because it's been incredibly stressful. It's been so easy to get lazy about what goes into our bodies. We find ourselves stress eating because we're bored. And again, this really comes back to routine. We need to keep 3 solid meals a day. And by having a good sleep pattern, this allows us to have these 3 meals and maybe possibly 1 or 2 snacks in between. You know, at maybe a certain point during the day, the kitchen gets closed. And, you know, I'm sorry, it's nighttime, the kitchen is closed. Everybody has had their dinner and had their snacks. And in importance to this too, also staying hydrated the best that you can, and really making a point to get outside a couple of minutes each day. And, you know, I know we've had some bad weather, but perhaps put on a fan or, you know, sit in the sunlight, or if it is a nice day, get out and walk your dog or ride your bike or do something where you can stay safe and also get some exercise in the process.
And the exercise thing is really, really important when you're in a time of high stress, is it not?
It is. I mean, we all need that serotonin lift now more than ever. And that's what, you know, exercise gives us. And we need that serotonin, Julie, because, you know, this is a tough time. Everybody's cooped into the house. Everybody's going to be on edge. And we need to know, too, that not every argument do we need to have. Not every interaction do we need to engage with. You know, we need to give ourselves a bit of a break. You know, kids are right now out of their grooves. We need to make sure that there's a certain amount of just looseness too, in terms of our reactions and our responses.
Yeah, and that's another thing is I find that there's a heightened sense of reaction in almost everything, whether it's on the good side of elation, like I walked by 3 people. I mean, I drove by 3 people who were walking on the street, and I gave them a big wide berth, and they were 6 feet apart, and I just waved from them, and they waved like crazy. Like it was like, oh, you're acknowledging what I'm doing. Whereas in the past, they might just go like, yeah, thanks for moving your car over and not hitting us. And people that get angry at things tend to get way more angry than they used to. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, there's a certain lack of impulse control I'm finding. Yes, and especially with children too. You know, I mean, that structure of the day-to-day has a certain rhythm in it that's very comforting. And in fact, it's interesting because a lot of psychologists recommend at this time engaging in something that has a rhythm in it, especially when you're moving from the left to the right type of rhythm.
What do you mean?
If you're hopping or you're running, or it's that left to right, or even with your hands, you're knitting, you're playing with clay, all of that will bring down the level of anxiety. Another thing that I think is really nice to do is, especially for the little children, is to create a coping box. And in that coping box, have a number of things that appeal to the senses. Perhaps something soft, like a stuffed animal or a blanket, or perhaps something warm, like a packet of hot chocolate. Everything that you fill in this box, the kid can decorate the box, and the box can be put on the side. And when things get a little intense, encourage the child to go to the coping box, to take out an item, and, you know, to have time with the items in their coping box.
Is that the same as your self-care toolkit?
I'm sorry?
Is that the same as the self-care toolkit?
It is, yes. Very much similar to that. And, you know, as we're all kind of crushed into small spaces, I think especially with urban living, it's nice, too, if there's a way where everybody could have their little corner to retreat to. In other words, when I'm in this corner, you know, this is my time. Right. And when you're in that corner, that's your time. You know, it's interesting because I was also out walking the other night. I was walking the dog, and I've noticed I could smell dinner cooking. It was about 4:30, 5 o'clock. I passed some neighbors who were outside shooting hoops, a dad with his sons. You know, I saw a couple kids riding by on their bikes, and it strangely reminded me of the 1950s, where everything was in some way kind of turned back to a more simpler time. And this whole idea about being present and, paying attention to one another and reconnecting has been so critical during this time. It's just, it's unlike any other. And, I think one thing I've noticed, and I'm sure, Julie, you've run into this too, it's like there's always this conflict because there's the need to be informed because things are constantly changing.
Right.
But how do you avoid the oversaturation?
Right.
And
kids especially, I assume you really need, as a parent, depending on how old your kids are, you need to protect them shield them from that constant barrage of, the bad numbers in the world and, how many months. And they don't have any perspective to put this in. They haven't lived long enough to understand that we will actually come out of this on the other side. How do you tell parents how much of this they should know? Because you can't shield them from the truth, and that's why they have to be home. But how much of the real figures do you share with kids, or don't you?
Well, I think it all depends on the child's age. I have a daughter who's 9 who really doesn't understand what's going on. All she knows is that she's stuck at home and a lot of people are sick.
Yep.
My son, who's 13, has a little bit more, a stronger base knowledge of what's going on. But one thing I've been really careful about is, not keeping news anchors of, from CNN with the tickers rolling of the number of deaths on in the house all the time.
Right.
I may watch it a little bit in the morning, and then I'll watch it at night when everybody's in bed.
Right.
And then I turn it off.
Right.
Because I think for all of our anxiety rates, it's way too much.
Right.
Way too much.
You said one of your coping mechanisms was focus on safety and attachment. What did you mean by that?
I think a lot of that is just the connection that we have with each other. Reminding the children, the individuals in your house, that you're all together in this and that you are there for them. And they may require, especially your younger ones, may require a little bit more of you at this time. So this is the time to kind of get involved with them with projects, to hug them close if you've been with them throughout this whole time, and to stay close, reminding that we have each other through this process. Because overall, the world does not feel safe right now.
Right. And the other side of that are like people who don't have children. Let's say it's a husband and wife, the kids are grown up or they don't have kids yet, and they're used to going their own ways and being in their own careers, and suddenly they're in the house together all the time. And it's so funny that I'm sure you see on social media there's a whole bunch of jokes about it. But it's very real. I mean, I know for me, my husband who works in Boston and has had to work at home now, it's very unusual to have him home all the time. And it's starting to get really old for him too. As much as he didn't like the commute, he kind of misses it now.
Yeah, just that getting out of the house and having its own space. But it's not that you can't each do and pursue what it is that you love separately in the same space. I mean, I know that there are a lot of online classes being offered now free of charge. I know Broadway is putting up a lot of musicals on a daily basis that you can watch if you're into that. I know a lot of musicians are putting their work out there and offering free lessons. So there are things that each of you can pursue separately during this time to create just a little bit of space. Yeah, and I also tell people to find that one thing in your life that you can control the heck out of.
Right.
If it feels like, my goodness, we have this, this invisible virus out there that's killing people, it's a really hard concept to wrap your mind around. So find that closet that you've been meaning to empty out and clean, and if you can, and if you're able, and if you don't have kids and you're able to take the time to do this, organize your house, move furniture around, get things how you want them to be. Because we will come out of this in due time, and we always do. but it's just the not knowing of when it's going to be.
End, right. There's no end date. And to segue into what you said about musicians, doing free online classes, there's a lot of free stuff that people are doing, which is wonderful. There's a lot of silver linings, and there's an awful lot of heroic stories and, just stories that make you cry. People that are just going all out to help other people. I love concentrating on those stories every day.
Yes, and like Mr. Rogers said, always look for the helpers, right?
Right.
And I think that especially with children too, it's important that they see that other people are out there helping and doing great things.
Right.
And maybe there are things that they could do too, be it sewing masks, whether it's writing encouraging letters to healthcare workers or, people on the front lines, whatever it may be. I mean, this is the time where we can be creative and do things like that.
Absolutely. You said one of the things is not to forget to reach out for help. Speak to that.
Yeah, and that's so important. You and I were laughing prior to the show starting about how we as extroverts find this to be a difficult time. We can't hug our friends. We can't go out and. I think it's so important, though, whether you're an introvert or you're an extrovert, to make sure that you do reach out to the people in your life. And, reach out via FaceTime, reach out via phone call. I set up virtual play dates for my kids so that they can talk to their friends. Mm-hmm. But, we know that in isolation feeds depression.
Right.
So we want to make sure for all of our sanity that we're reaching out to those in our circles.
Right.
And even if you don't have much to say, just sharing a story or a silly joke sometimes can really make a difference for somebody who's feeling really alone and isolated.
Absolutely. And to remind yourself, as you say, that every day that this is temporary.
This is temporary. And every day that we have is one day closer to the day that we're able to re-enter the world again.
That's right. And I always take such peace and it's very comforting for me to know the brilliant people, scientists that are out there working 24/7 on treatments, on cures eventually, on a way to get through this. We have such brilliance in this world, and I think about those people, and I think about those people a lot because they're not stopping, and they won't stop until they find the answer, which is really nice.
Yeah, and it's amazing because I don't know about you, but I really haven't thought much about those people until this time. They spend a lot of their life underground and in labs and in studying behind closed doors, and it's something that we don't necessarily see unless you're in those circles. And it's just so interesting that they are emerging now with information and they're our guiding light during this time, which is absolutely unbelievable.
And the wonderful knowledge that the gentleman in the grocery store that I see all the time that's sitting there and he's filling the shelves up, and I've walked by him before, and I try to always smile at people and say hi, but I've stopped and I've said thank you for being at work, thank you for doing this.
Yes.
Those people in the grocery store, and the lady who delivers the mail, and the UPS drivers, and all those people that are staying open and continuing to let us have some semblance of normalcy are really the people right now that we owe so much to.
You are so right. You are so right. And it's just interesting what our priorities will be, how we'll look at the world when we come through the other side of this.
That's right.
And we can't forget that this has been a really difficult time for a lot of people. There's been a lot of sadness. There's been a lot of loss. And I think, it is important for us to talk about this a little bit. I see clients all the time that are sad about not having graduation, not having prom. And, people laugh it off and think it's silly that they're concerned about that right now. But these are rites of passage that are so important in our own developmental and emotional growth.
And it's grief, right? I mean, what you're describing is grief.
It is grief. It's a tremendous, tremendous loss for them. But, I think that we are experiencing all different types of grief right now, more than one type of grief. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I keep seeing is not only this loss of normalcy, this economic toll, the whole thing, but I'm really seeing a lot of anticipatory grief. And this word I know isn't used a whole lot, but what it is the feelings you get when you're given a dire diagnosis, or you see the storm clouds on the horizon and you know something's coming, but you don't exactly know what exactly it is, what it looks like, how to recognize it, and you sit and you just wait.
Right.
And we do know that this anticipatory grief changes the way that we approach life. For example, life is not the same in an airport after 9/11.
Right.
Since 9/11, our experiences have been very, very different.
Yep.
The way that we've navigated, if you see something, say something, and the extra security, and we will come out of this as different people, and things will be different. But this anticipatory grief can really be a challenge for a lot of people because it is so complicated.
And how do we keep people from developing crutches at this point? Drinking too much or taking, a few too many antidepressants or trying to medicate their way out of the grief. I assume that you're going to see an influx of patients with those types of issues when this is over.
Yeah, and I'm already seeing it right now. It's just been so difficult for people to cope that becomes kind of the easy way out to not experience the feelings.
Sure.
But I think that's where we talk about grief in terms of stages. The stages of grief aren't necessarily linear, but we need to experience them in whatever order they come. So the first being denial. Okay, the virus won't hit me, it won't affect me or my friends or family, right? And then we go into anger. What do you mean I can't go to my prom? What do you mean I can't have my graduation? What do you mean I can't go see my friends? And the anger. And then there's that bargaining piece, like, oh, okay, so if I just quarantine for 2 weeks, then this will all be over and we'll be fine, right? And everything will be good, right? And then there's that sadness. Geez, I don't know when this is going to end. This is really, really hard. And then the last piece is that acceptance of, you know what? This is happening. This is difficult. I know I can wash my hands. I can social distance. I can do everything I'm told and know that in time this too will pass. So I think that acceptance is where the power lies. And we need to remind ourselves before we reach for that substance or that crutch, because we don't want to feel those feelings.
Yeah, boy, you're absolutely right. And remind yourself every day all the wonderful things that are happening. When you watch like the people in New York City that go out at 7 o'clock and bang things together and sing, and they're thanking all the first responders and the doctors and nurses. I mean, that's happening all over the place. It happens in Boston every night. Those are the types of things that you should look forward to looking at every night, because those are the silver linings. And and I believe, and I know you do too, Leslie, that people are generally a lot more resilient than they think. And it's amazing when we're through this a year or two from now, people will look back and say, you know what? That was tough, but I got through it. I did pretty good.
Yes, and then that statement alone can be the strength which carries them through whatever comes their way. And I so frequently remind my clients, look at your history. Look what you've survived. This too will pass. And these feelings are not forever.
Right.
And let's not judge our feelings. They are what they are. And like waves on the shore, they'll hit and then they'll be gone. So let's learn to sit with them and, try the best we can to be grateful for what it is that we have in our lives, for the health that maybe some of us still have, the family that we still have surrounding us, and really use this as a point for growth.
Right. And what about the inspiring moments that you've seen? What has hit you?
Well, I think everybody's different, but I think we're all a little bit nicer to each other when things like this go on. I feel like like you were saying, recognizing the people in the supermarket that are there every single day and thanking them for their kindness and for what they do, and those who work tirelessly on the front lines. I've also personally loved listening to the musicians play on their balconies in Spain and in France and in, all these places, and others joining in and creating music together. Also, I think it's interesting how a lot of people have kind of come out of the woodwork and started posting some of their art and their music online as a way of sharing. And I've been really inspired by that personally. These are certainly interesting times that we're living in. And it will really be interesting to see what type of art and music and writing and everything kind of comes out
and
of,
movies and
of this
TV
dark
series
period.
and there'll be a lot. There'll be a lot. And we'll know, we'll watch this interview that we're having 3 years from now, and we'll say, wow, we didn't know a lot of things, but we did know a lot of things, and we did know about resilience. What about the connection that you need despite social distancing? Because it's really, I'm a hugger. I hug everybody, and it's so weird to have to say, okay, 6 feet, don't come near me. Really odd. So how do we connect 6 feet away?
Well, I think it's pretty easy for us as kind of technology savvy adults and kids to do. But I think one thing we really haven't mentioned is it's really critical that we connect with our seniors during this time. They may not have the technology savvy that we have. They may not have, computers or even cell phones to be able to reach out on. And, just checking in with them, leaving them little notes. My kids love to draw pictures for the elderly couple in front of us, and we, post it all on their door, or, just checking in via phone. I think that that's really crucial during this time, as well as our elderly parents and friends as well.
Absolutely. And where we don't have an end date of this.
Yes.
Let's say all of a sudden we get an end date, and the end date's okay, May 15th. Let's just pick something. So all of a sudden, May 15th, you can go back to your life. What kind of a challenge is that going to present?
Well, it makes me wonder, and I think about this every day, Julie, is what's going to be important to us on the other side?
Yeah.
I think our priorities have really shifted, and I don't know if you're finding this, but I'm finding that so many things that seemed so crucial prior to this seem ridiculous at this point.
Yep.
And I'm wondering what we're going to take and what we're going to leave behind. But the sense of connection that we're feeling with our families right now that we're living with is something that I hope I never lose again.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of parents who actually look at this as, this is a wonderful thing for the family unit. We are together all the time now. We're together for meals. We're together to talk about things. And that's been, like you said, back in the 50s. It's kind of, everybody had dinner together. That's just what you did.
Right.
Yeah, and the other thing, let's talk about for 1 minute is, what is the best advice you can give anyone as they wake up each morning? What is your mantra in the morning?
Okay, I'll be honest. Sometimes it's a little bit hard. I force myself to get out of bed. I put my feet on the floor, and I ask God, the universe, to show me a place where I can help others. And then if I'm dragging my feet and I feel like my eyes cannot see those opportunities today, I start at the top of the alphabet. And I think of something that begins with A that I'm grateful for, B, C, and I put myself in the shower and I keep going all the way through.
Yeah.
So my advice is, be thankful for what you have, be grateful for the small gifts that we're given in the day-to-day, and look for opportunities to help and to help heal those that are hurting around us.
I totally agree. Totally agree. And the other thing that I find really, really helps is when you pass someone in the supermarket or with that 6 feet, distance, look them in the eye and smile and say something like, "Well, we're all in this together," so that people know that they're not alone and they're not isolated, but they're part of a community, and the entire community is fighting to go up this same river, against the tide, and we're doing it together. And we really are. I'm just so amazed at the human spirit, and I'm just so proud of the humans I know.
Yes, absolutely, truly.
Well, Leslie, this has been wonderful. And coping mechanisms, you've given some really good advice here. People need to reach out to their friends, to their families, to their loved ones, to the people that they trust. And like you said, don't be afraid to talk. Talk about it. Talk it out. Last words of advice before we say goodbye this time?
This too shall pass.
This too shall pass. Thank you. This has been the licensed mental health counselor, Leslie Cutler. Thank you so much for joining us today. Be safe, everyone. Be positive. We will get through this. The Talking Information Center, TIC, is a nonprofit radio reading service broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to over 30,000 low vision and senior listeners throughout the state of Massachusetts. Typically, TIC has the help of over 200 volunteers during in-person operations. TIC wants you to know that with the help of 20 volunteers who have the ability to record from home, they are continuing operations remotely, recording in unique places in their homes to get the best quality sound, like closets, basements, bedrooms, and even their cars. TIC is able to continue broadcasting all 17 daily newspapers with the help of these selfless volunteers and would like to help the community stay connected with their listeners. If any organization has a message or resources to share with the low vision or senior population, let TIC be your voice. Simply call the Talking Information Center at 781-834-4400 or send them an email with your message to general@ticnetwork.org. To do their part, Emerald Yoga Studio in Pembroke is offering healthcare heroes free, unlimited access to their video-on-demand library. Yoga is a great way to de-stress, refresh, and take a little me time, and no one deserves this more than the folks working on the front lines. Landon Stacy tells us a bit more.
Hi, my name is Landon Stacy. I'm the owner of Emerald Yoga Studio in Pembroke, Massachusetts. We have all been affected by the harsh reality of social distancing in our families, communities, and small businesses alike. It's a very strong core value for me to continue to provide and serve to those who need it the most. Right now, that's healthcare personnel and frontline workers who are working to combat the COVID-19 virus. Since I began taking yoga, I realized the profound feeling of overall wellness in my mind and body that I felt when I was taking a class, and I realized that this was something I was not alone in feeling. It's the main reason why I felt called to extend our work to healthcare personnel and frontline workers. We've been closed since mid-March due to the strict guidelines and the proximity that we're normally in a yoga class. We haven't let that stop us though. We've been providing over 16 live stream classes every week to all of our new and old friends and students. I know for a frontline worker there are many challenges that have to be overcome. One in particular is the increased stress that everyone is feeling, and I realize that frontline workers are normally busy during the hours that we hold our normal classes. Emerald Yoga Studio has been providing free access to all frontline workers for our video-on-demand service where they can view any of our classes at any time of the day. These are all virtual classes, and currently we have over 50 hours of yoga classes and meditations to be enjoyed. This can be accessed by going to our website at emeraldyoga.com, scrolling to the bottom to fill out the contact form where someone will be in touch to give them information on how to access all of these videos completely free. For everybody else, please join us at emeraldyoga.com for our virtual membership of over 16 classes live streamed to your home. Emerald Yoga Studio has always supported the local community, and we appreciate your continued support now. Together, we will fight this.
Photographer Tommy Colbert has reframed his business during the 2020 coronavirus pandemic by photographing Duxbury residents and business owners as they practice social distancing. His striking photographs are documenting a time unique to all of us in our lifetimes. Here is Tommy's story.
Hi, my name is Tommy Colbert. For the past 40 years, I've been photographing weddings in and around the Boston area as well as worldwide. My project is called The Duxbury Quarantine Project. It is a photographic essay capturing my fellow Duxburians dealing with this COVID-19 global crisis through the unnatural act of social distancing. My inspiration is from a man named Stephen Lovkin, who was doing something similar down in the New Jersey, Delaware area, where he was capturing people basically social distancing through their windows, and it inspired me to do something for my community. If you or someone you know would like to be a part of this project, please contact me at tommy@tommycolbert.com so we can set up an appointment to photograph you and your family during this unprecedented time. Thank you very much, and stay safe. If you're interested in being part of this project, please contact Tommy Colbert via email or private message him via Facebook. This service is free. This coming Sunday would, in normal circumstances, be a time when many families gather at their place of worship to celebrate their faith. New Hope Chapel in Plymouth has found a creative way to connect parishioners, a drive-in. On April 12th at 10:30 a.m., meet at the Old Shaw's parking lot at 20 Pilgrim Hill Road for drive-in church. Drive up and tune in your radio for live worship and an encouraging message as you celebrate services together. Pastor Neil Eaton has more.
Hi everybody, I'm Pastor Neil Eaton, the senior pastor of New Hope Chapel here on Plymouth's waterfront. We have our own building at 89 Court Street right here. We love our church family. It's probably about 800 to 1,000 if you counted everybody that called New Hope their church family. We love each other, but more importantly, we love our community. Our slogan is, love God, love people, change the world. So we love to do that. Also, we have an 8:30 service right here, and then next door at Memorial Hall, we have a 10:30 service. So we're used to meeting all the time. We love to be together. But through this COVID-19 situation, obviously we can't. So we're doing online services, but the cool thing for this Easter is on Sunday at 10:30, we are going to assemble at the Old Shaw's parking lot, right there on 20 Pilgrim Hill Road, here behind CVS off of 44. So we would love to have you come if you'd like to join us. You're going to pull in, and I talk about taking a jammy ride because we don't care. You don't have to put on your Easter Sunday best at all. Come in your pajamas if you want. We'll give you the FM channel that you turn to, and then you pull in, and the parking lot team will help you find a spot. There will be a digital LED screen. There will be a worship team socially distanced on the stage, and we're going to sing Easter hymns and songs, and I'm going to give a message of encouragement to everyone, and we're going to make the most out of the situation that we're in. So, New Hope Chapel, right here in Plymouth, we love our community, we love God, we love people, and we're here to change the world that we live in. I hope you can come check us out sometime. If you don't already have a church home, come and check us out. We love you. God bless you. I pray that you are well and taking every precaution you can during this time.
This is just one of the many ways places of worship have adapted to our new normal. In addition to New Hope Chapel's drive-in, many local churches are live streaming religious services through their website or Facebook page. Visit our resource page for a local listing. The Mello Family is a family who can sing. Knowing that music can lift people's spirits, they recorded and shared a homemade music video one night, and they haven't stopped yet. They've shared 24 videos so far and described for us the impact producing them has had on their family and on others.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. You hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. I'm hooked on a feeling. I don't believe that you're in love with me. You're as sweet as candy, the taste is on my mind. Girl, you got me thirsty for another cup of wine. Got a thought from you, girl, and I don't need no cure. I stay addicted to your control. Only when we're all alone, keep me young, girl. Yeah, you turn me on. I'm hooked on a feeling. I don't believe that you're in love with times in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, I'll be your friend, I'll help you carry on. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Just call on me, brother. You need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. Just might have a problem and you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on.
I'm Matt Mello.
I'm Maria Mello.
Well, I think these videos were really actually Maria's idea. She was looking for
Yeah.
them. What do you want to add in?
Yeah, I posted on Facebook like, hey, what can I do to help? This is a crazy time. And everybody was like, music videos. And I was like, oh, we can do that.
even in, we're all in the house together, of course, because of social distancing, but it kind of brings us together with purpose, and we try to keep it light, but keeping one song a night. It's supposed to be going live, and so it's been really kind of a pleasant, relaxing, fun experience.
Yes, especially when people are busy during the day with work. A lot of people really appreciate it. People have been messaging me with requests and saying like it's the best part of their day, and it does make me really happy, because sometimes like a lot of people feel hopeless, and I think that this brings a lot of joy to families, so it makes me really happy too. It makes you happy, it makes us happy.
allows us to connect with some, a lot of old friends and some new friends too. It's been fantastic.
It's really cool.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
To see more of these fun videos, visit Maria Mello's Facebook page. The videos are public for all to enjoy. Local Matters is a production of the local scene of PAC TV. To find a complete list of resources mentioned in this show, visit our website at pactv.org/localscene. Follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook to keep updated on new stories and the ways that we shine a light on you. Now more than ever, we need each other. PAC TV is here for you. Stay safe.